Welcome back to the Artist Spotlight for Run Radio. My name's Trina Wilcox, and my guest today, my tongue doesn't work quite right. So introduce each of yourselves and tell me the name of your band.
So I'm Xavi. I'm the vocalist and guitarist of the Lurxx.
And I'm Sabu, and I'm the rest, except for the drums.
Everything else. Awesome. That is so great. Yes, I'm here in smack dab in the middle of the Ozarks. So I joked that my Ozarkian slips in. So yeah, it's not always great. So have you guys known each other your whole lives, or did you just
almost
very cool.
Almost, yes.
Yeah, we met when we were, I think, 12 years old, and we pretty much started making music together straight away, I think, when we were 13. So we've been doing this for a long time.
Okay, so were you involved in music even in school, or was that just strictly your own thing?
Strictly our own thing.
We more like
we more like weren't in school when we did music. We were playing hooky when we were playing music.
What, did you have music programs? And they just weren't.
We did, but we were not so interested in that.
Well, there was a guy he's actually like a supportive teacher, one of the few supportive teachers, and he tried to kind of interest us in the school music program, which was a bit about songwriting, and it was quite, I guess, forward thinking, but we were just much more rebellious than that. So I think it was just straight away clear that now for us music was going to be like a strictly extracurricular.
Totally your own thing. So how were you teaching yourselves then all the things you need to know? Because I mean, a lot of people may think, oh, music is just whatever. It's a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah,
it is. That's actually a good question.
Yeah, because we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have tutorials.
Because this was all
90s,
pre-internet,
like early 90s. That's like 1989, 1991. So I had a book, like a guitar school book thing with the chords in it. I had a Beatles songbook that had all the chords drawn out, like over all the songs. So I would just play like all the Beatles songs, and that's basically how I learned all the guitar chords, was just with the Beatles songbook. And I think that just take it from there and listen to the records and be frustrated a lot of the time because you couldn't figure out what was going on.
Yeah,
that is actually true. It was connected to quite some frustration. Like I remember that when I was maybe 13 or so, or 14, I was a big Paul McCartney fan, and I took some bass lessons for a while in a just with a local guitar / bass teacher, and we'd just be sitting there with the cassette tapes, and there were also partly tapes of tapes, and he just like tried to listen to these bass melodies, and honestly he couldn't. And then somewhere I also stopped taking lessons because I thought, really, I don't have to pay for this. Like my teacher is not better than I am. So there was quite some frustration.
Yeah, I was just learning by doing. I bet we sounded awful half of the time, but that it helped when we got into punk rock, because then it didn't matter that we sounded awful.
So about how long into it did you decide to take that route?
Probably when we were about, well, it was actually, it's funny because it's the 90s, but we really started our musical journey very much in the 50s. So we started out listening to rock and roll, and then we went into like Rolling Stones, 60s stuff, and then we took it from there, Small Faces, so into the 70s, and then we ended up with the Sex Pistols somewhere. So I think it probably around when we were 15, 16.
We had arrived in the 70s.
We had arrived, so finally arrived in 1977 with Nevermind the Bollocks, and that's when we drifted more into the punk thing, and then we continued the development into Guns N' Roses, metal, Mötley Crüe. So we really went.
It's probably a funny musical directory trajectory that we took, because I really think that we as individuals relived music history, which now also means that we have a mass of influences, and we're drawing from all these decades, which we lived very vividly.
We would wear, like when we were into the Beatles, we would go to school, and where we went to school we didn't have to wear school uniforms, but we'd literally like wear British school uniforms, because we were like, yeah, this is what the Beatles did. So like we were living in these times like 100%.
We'd actually instead of our own names, we'd write like John Lennon and Paul McCartney on our test sheets and stuff like that, and piss off the teachers.
Yeah, we were really annoying, I think.
Well, at what point did you get around other musicians? And because if you were not in school getting fed into and asking questions, how did you get exposure, and how did you get exposed to audiences and so on?
The first thing we did was when we were 16, we released a little punk single, like that was still in our punk time, that we were picked up by a little punk label.
It was actually a British punk label. We had a 4-track machine at home. We had recorded. It was basically just a demo, and they liked it so much that they pressed it on little vinyl. And that was the first time we were in touch with, say, like the music scene. And at the same time, we played some gigs. We come from a very small town. There were literally, I think, at the time we lived there must have been like 2 or 3 rock clubs or blues clubs there, and we played them all. We got banned after playing them, so that was sort of a one-off thing, because we told the blues club that we were like a blues band, but then we did
have some blues roots. That was not a
lie. We opened with Walking the Dog, but we were really a punk band. So it went down really well, though.
We just played very fast blues.
Very fast blues, yeah. So we didn't get a chance to play live a lot. We did a lot of busking, actually. So a lot of our experience came from actually busking.
But there weren't really many musicians. So what we then did is
there wasn't a music scene at all.
No, so we moved to London then when we were 18, and tried to find other musicians, particularly a drummer. And it was impossible, because at the time, Britpop was just really huge. Oasis were just coming up, and London was just this hipster city, and we were into punk, we were getting into metal.
No one wanted to hear that.
Not at all. So that didn't work. So there we were actually just the 2 of us, and frustrated again. And then we went to Los Angeles, and there we finally actually managed to really connect to a music scene and to other musicians. And
that was only in LA. So that was still when we were still 18. So London, we were only in London for a couple of months. Then we went to LA. And that's when there was sort of the remnants of the Sunset Strip scene, what was still left in the mid-90s of the big thriving scene there.
And they actually took us in.
They took us under their wings, yeah.
So is it usually just session musicians that, sit in as needed with you guys, or do you usually have a certain drummer and et cetera that you work with?
Partly. So when we did the punk thing, we actually had a drummer, but he was a couple of years younger than us. So when we were 18, he was only 15, so we couldn't take him when we moved out of home. And then in LA, we had pretty much a session drummer, sort of a steady session drummer, who also did all the gigs with us, but we kind of we weren't very happy with him. And then we met.
We didn't really connect personally.
Yeah, so. It was really just just to have a drummer, and he had a truck. Which was good, and he was reliable. He was a reliable dude with a truck, so that was and he had his own kit and everything. Yeah, and then we met our current drummer actually in 1997, I think, or early '98, in LA. Although he is from Liverpool, he's from the UK. So, but he was in LA. He was supposed to be there with his band, but his band somehow they didn't turn up, and then we ended up jamming with him and taking over a bunch of the gigs that they had been supposed to do with his band. And with him, we really gelled. It was just like we met and we were just like, wow, this is like the first time that we really feel, ever since this 15-year-old drummer who was cool, that we really had a band member rather than a session musician. And then we did a lot of stuff together until he couldn't play anymore, because it was very dramatic. He got beaten up and he had a steel plate put in his head, and he wasn't allowed to actually play the drums for really long. And then he fell into a depression because of that. And so like heavy shit. But up to this point, it was him, Joe. And then we lost him because he was called Graham Jones, and he lives in Liverpool, and everyone is called Graham Jones. They're so impossible to find him. And he moved a couple of times. Like we moved, we lost touch. And then in 2019, I think, we uploaded an old band video to YouTube, and he found it and he commented on it, and he was like, dudes, great memories, great times. And we're like, Joe! And then now we've actually reconnected, and all our new music is recorded with him, so it's the original 1998 lineup.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
So right now, what's your writing process like? Is it just the 2 of you? Do you split up, come back together?
It is the 2 of us. We're writing all our stuff, the 2 of us, and we're just in a massive creative explosion. It's incredible.
Cool.
Yeah. Because after this, it's amazing. I mean, after this 25-year break that we took from the band, we just now noticed just like how much bottled up
Music
creativity we
is,
had,
yeah.
and it's right now just like spilling out like crazy.
And it's like every weekend we're writing a new song.
Yeah,
basically.
it's amazing.
So are you pretty much self-publishing? Are you putting out everything on your own label independently?
We are. We're working on a close to $0 budget. We spent $80 on our video.
Hey,
so
what I want this platform is to encourage people that, you know, we've got more power than we've ever had to promote ourselves and put out our stories, our music, all that kind of stuff. So that's why I think it's great that you're like, hey, look, we've gathered all this stuff and we didn't just put it down and quit. We're bringing it back when the time's right. And you
And I think it's amazing. I mean, having been a self-produced, self-financed band back in the mid-90s and having experienced just how hard it was back then, I mean, it was crazy. The amount of effort and money you needed to spend just to get your music to like 10 people. And now you can just upload it and you get hundreds of people to just listen to it. And it's just such a rush. I mean, nowadays, I think because we have quite a lot of young friends now, young musicians who are literally like very young. They just sort of finished college and are starting to study. And so they're like 19, 20, 21. And they have a very different viewpoint because they are kind of looking at these people blowing up on social media and they're like, oh, if you don't have like 100,000 streams, then you're not successful. And we're more like, 200 people listen to our song. This is so amazing.
I know. I'm telling you, yes, it's difficult to get attention, but it will come. And you're right. I mean, it's 200 versus 10. I mean, it's a big deal. Did either of you do the college route or anything like that after high school?
Well, not really after high school because, I mean, we were really bad kids. So first of all, we just dropped out of high school in order to make music. And then after our drummer got so beaten up and we were just like forced into a break and we had it.
And we'd had it with the music business.
We were really frustrated with the music business because we always very much perceived ourselves as artists, and we just had all this stupid stuff like you can have a record deal, but only if you kick out your drummer because he's too ugly and too old. And we were just like, really,
literally Sony records.
So that was So we were really fed up with just the shallowness of the business, and we just didn't want that. So then we thought like, okay, we're fed up with the shallow stuff. Let's do something deep. So we actually went back to school. We did our high school diploma, and then we went on to university. This genius beside me actually holds 2 master's degrees.
Ooh,
I got into the education thing then.
Big time.
Cool. So did it pay off, or was it just something to pass the time? How do you feel about the experience?
I mean, it paid off in a person, not in a financial type of way, but
otherwise we'd have more budget for the band. No?
But it paid off from the point of view of personal development, definitely.
I mean, we definitely noticed that one thing that we cannot do is fit in. Like this educational journey brought us again and again to points where we could have branched into a direction where we would have actually made money. And every time
we're like, nah,
no,
who needs that?
Like for example, there was a point where we both actually trained to be teachers, like where we could have then taught, like in the state school system, and it just did not at all feel right. It just felt so wrong, and we just decided
against all authority. I couldn't have entered the system.
It didn't work. So we are using our academic skills to get jobs here and there that we enjoy. Definitely.
Yeah. Like I'm working I studied environmental sciences, and I'm working as a project manager in sort of community climate change kind of thing. But it's always sort of project-based work where we know like we're going to do this for a while, and we're using our skills. But we don't really want to enter the system and become become trapped in the race.
The corporate 9 to 5, if you will.
No. I think we very much see ourselves there as activists. Like we love taking the knowledge that we've gathered and put it to use, and try to. I mean, we do that with our music as well, with our lyrics. That we just like try to help people get their thoughts on positive tracks, and we do that in our jobs. We do that in our music. But we just need to be free
outside the system.
I think that's important also for other artists to hear that you do have other things that you do, but they don't always define you or take away from being an artist, a musician, a performer, because sometimes I feel like people think it has to be one or the other.
Yeah,
and that
definitely.
you can find those ways like you guys have.
Yeah, I think it can be very frustrating, because if you deal with people who are within the say, like normal capitalist system, they define everything by, do you earn money with it or not? If you're not earning money with it, you're not doing it professionally. And I think that's something that so many artists fight with, because you live for your art. Of course, you're doing it professionally. It's not your fault no one's paying you for it. So
yeah, I like that a lot. And you shouldn't wait for permission from anybody to be who or what you want to be. So
exactly.
but your own. So tell me a little bit about your most recent tracks that you've got going and why you're excited about them and what people can expect from them.
Do you want to go first?
I just want to ask you, do you want to go?
Yeah, so we got
I'm excited about them all.
We got two releases out, which was totally probably the wrong thing to do, and you're supposed to drop them song by song, and we just brought out an album like old-fashioned style,
and an EP
because we had so much going on, and we were just like, this is so many songs, there's so many coming, we need to put them all out now. So we got an album called Music for the Planet, and that's what people can expect. It's kind of a mixture of 70s, it's guitar based, 70s influenced hard rock, but there's some punk rock in there, there's some sort of folk rock influences. It's positive, it's powerful, it's music to rebel by, but it's not like just aggressive. There's
I play the recorder.
Yeah, so he's a recorder player. So imagine hard rock with a recorder player.
Like every elementary student.
The tenor and the bass recorder.
That is great.
Honestly, one of the main instruments I play is a plastic recorder that Xavi used to have as a child, and he used it when he was he used it as a sword when he was playing.
Yeah, I'm not a recorder player. No. I'm definitely more of a sword fighter.
And someone picked it up and thought, this is a nice musical instrument. And I kind of made it, a bit of a trademark thing. Yeah. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think we have people can expect the unexpected with us, because we're very influenced by this experimental mindset of the late 60s, early 70s. I think that's something we love to experiment. We don't like to follow genre boundaries. And you can always hear a little bit of punk, a little bit of chaos. We love it handmade. We don't like to overproduce things. We would never use autotune or anything like that.
Yeah.
We like it. Sometimes we like it heavy. Sometimes we'll have some really soft stuff. So it's a bit of everything.
And it's just everything is very passionate. I think one thing is really clear, and that it really comes from the heart.
Yeah, energy and passion, sort of what people keep saying to us. Like that's the two recurring words that people use to describe what we do. So
and the lyrics are super important to us. I mean, we are, I think, a bit brain-based people also.
A bit intellectual at times, perhaps.
So yeah, we put a lot of thought into our message, and like Xavi was saying, it's called the album is called Music for the Planet, and
there are 2 songs about eels on there, for example, where we've got an anti-speciesist message. So the idea is very much that we're all one, all of nature is one. We need to realize as humans that we're not something that's apart or above the rest of nature. That's something that I think in a lot of our songs kind of comes through. And we like writing songs about weird things. Like we've got 2 songs about eels. One is specifically about eel migration and starts out with the line "larvae adrift from the south," which I think is just like that already says a lot about our lyrics, because our lyrics are weird.
So if the first word is larvae, then you're listening to the Lurxx.
So you're also making people smarter with your music. That is cool.
We hope so.
Yeah.
Very good. We'll tell people where they can go to get your music and your swag. I think I need one of those sweatshirts now. So
yeah, this is our merch. This is our merch.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Where can we get it?
Through our website. We've got a shop linked on our website, www.the-lurxx.com.
All right. We will link that also up on runradio.net. Thank you guys so much. Anything else you want to share that I haven't thought to ask?
Nothing that I can think of right now. Anything you can think of?
Our second release is an EP called Jellyfish Moon.
Okay.
It's 3 tracks, also really great. Love them.
Yeah,
awesome.
One is about a cool bird, because it's called a nightjar, And we've just been in touch with a local wildlife rescue organization for them to use it, because that's another thing that we really want to make our music available to people who want to use it for a good cause. So we'll be like, if you do a project with Nightjars, here's our song, use it, like just use it for a good cause.
Yes,
yeah.
I love that. All right, well, you have to promise to come back here next time you have another round of music coming out. We'd love to.
Definitely.
All right, thanks so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.